Hello and welcome back to On to the Next Thing. I'm Michael, your host, and this is episode 12. 12. Episode 1, 2. Today is Tuesday, July 15th. This episode has been delayed by approximately a week and a day or so. Yeah, that's right. This is just to confirm that normally in my head, the regular scheduled upload time is Tuesday. But obviously haven't been sticking to that, but last episode, I basically nailed it. And I was like, ooh, 4th of July, I'm going to record the shit out of this thing. This is going to be so good. It's going to be like America themed and, it's going to be just 4 hours long talking and with guests and people and celebrations and music. But instead, I lost my microphone cable and I lost my voice. And so now I'm working on with a new voice and a new microphone cable. So that's where we're at right now. But yeah, you know what? Keep it going on. Hopefully going to get it right next time. And if not, fuck you. It's free, okay? Watch it on YouTube for free. And also other places coming soon. Damn. There's cat hair in this microphone. It's not my usual microphone. It's a loner, as they say, Loaner, for those of you who are challenged in the reading department. Anyway, let's get right to bird news. I've got a couple bird news headlines here. Not a crazy week for birds, but good news according to a study published in Scientific American. Bird flu is on the decline. Let's see if my phone will actually obey my commands and go back to the Scientific American article. It's called "Where Did Bird Flu Go?" Basically, it's a little bit long and a little bit complicated for me to read in this state. But basically, bird flu cases have gone down, at least by kind of the metrics that they've been using, which is, through like commercial farms and shit like that. Like chickens and cows and, other domestic species that can get bird flu. And so cases have been going down, but apparently experts are saying it's not like it's just totally passed through the population, disappeared. It might just be having like kind of an ebb, and it could still be mutating and things like that. Let me see. Why do they think that it hasn't just disappeared? Why can't a good thing just fucking happen, Be nice if it just disappeared, which is what they're saying isn't happening, but, what do the experts know? I'm basically a bird expert. Maybe I don't. Maybe I think that bird flu is just disappearing. How about that? 2 factors. Falters and higher yeah, because it's flu. Influenza viruses don't do as well, and they aren't as prolific in higher temperatures. Migratory wild birds aren't traveling as widely now. Yeah, so I guess they're basically saying that it's on like kind of a seasonal lull, which is how like most cold and flu viruses work. So yeah, honestly, not anything particularly groundbreaking there, but what are you gonna expect from science news aggregate Scientific American? But you know what? I got some other bird news here. We have back to feces, a bit of fecal news here. We got Mendota Heights residents seek solutions after 14,500 pounds of bird shit. 14,500 pounds of bird droppings fall into local lake. This is from Care News by, I guess, NBC, because it has a little NBC logo next to Care 11. That's Kare. This is out of Minnesota. Jesus, Christy Nome, get the fuck out of here. No, DHS. Okay, I almost went to a Department of Homeland Security freaking pop-up ad link. Did you guys know that the Department of Homeland Security puts pop-up ads on Care 11 NBC News? I didn't know that until just now, but I almost just went and clicked on a Christy Nome advertisement, I guess, so I could learn more about whatever Department of Homeland Security is doing, which I'm sure is only the most benevolent and soothing things. Anyway, Mendota Heights residents seek solutions after 14,500 pounds of bird droppings fall into local lake. Augusta Lake is considered one of the dirtiest lakes in Minnesota due to high amounts of phosphorus. Residents say migrating cormorants are to blame. Also, this is by, I guess they just put the author below like the sub. I guess that is a subtitle, but you think they put it below the headline. Anyway, I guess it's a subheader, and then here's the author, Gordon Severson, and then also Nicole Borman. Mendota Heights, Minnesota. Each fall, thousands of cormorants gather in the trees along the shores of Augusta Lake in Mendota Heights. However, the water below them has been paying the ultimate price. 14,500 pounds of bird shit is a lot of bird shit, says Joe Nunez, a resident right on the water. You're saying bird poop, but I think bird shit has a better ring to it, so I'm taking a little bit of a creative liberty with this article. His backyard faces the lake, giving him a perfect view of the bright green water. Oh, that sounds fucked up. Ooh, bright green. It's like an emerald. It's so pretty. God damn it. Who just fucking texted me? It doesn't matter. A recent study revealed that birds' droppings are polluting the lake. Joe Barton, the administrator of the Lower Mississippi River Watershed Management Organization, says the dead trees on the shore are what make this location such a hot spot for cormorants. All these really mature trees around this lake have died over the last 30 years, but they are still standing, said Barton. The increase in dead trees is attributed to rising lake levels. Since the 1980s, Augusta Lake's water level has risen 16 feet. Nunez recalls seeing a tree stump in his yard a few years ago that now sits completely underwater. What a riveting anecdote from Nunez. However, the trees are still standing tall enough for the cormorants to settle comfortably above the water. Ryan Ruzek with the Mendota Heights Public Works Department says a recent study showed different solutions to minimizing the bird population around the lake. These solutions include hazing the birds, which would include possibly loud noises, fireworks, and other techniques to scare the birds away. Another much harsher solution would be to kill some of the birds to discourage other cormorants from coming back to the lake. It's fucked up. I mean, I know you don't want your lake to be polluted, but yeah, we got to teach these birds a fucking lesson. we're either gonna make them carry kegs back to our house, or we're gonna fucking hang them up by the ankles after we kill them, as a warning to the other birds. Should try tar and feathering them. But the city would not be looking at any of those methods, said Ruzek. The city is considering other solutions that would have less impact on the birds themselves. One solution is to build an outlet for the lake that would help clean the water and remove the high amounts of phosphorus that is created by the bird droppings. Another solution includes the removal of hundreds of dead trees along the shorelines of the lake to hopefully discourage the cormorants from coming back in such high numbers. There will be a city hall meeting on Tuesday, July 15th, to discuss possible solutions and reasons behind the brightly colored water. And reasons? I thought they already knew. I thought it was the bird shit. It's the bird shit creating phosphorus deposits or something, making the lake into a giant glow stick. Anyway, I guess that's the end of the article. Oh, there's Kristi Noem again. Wait, that's not even Kristi Noem, is it? Who is that? Is that the first lady? I don't even know. I'm getting weird pop-up ads. Is there another headline that I want to see? Oh, there's this one. There's bald eagle's new status as the official U.S. bird brings pride and hope to many Native Americans. Why, though? The bald eagle is now the official bird in the United States, nearly 250 years after it was first used as a symbol of the newly founded. Okay, well, that's funny. Here's a little fun fact for you, I guess. The bald eagle was not the official bird of the United States up until now, even though we've been using it as a symbol for over two and a half centuries. Newly founded nation, the eagle. Right, what was the national bird before the eagle? Minnesota again, the size of Minnesota's population. Damn. So it's the I'm not gonna figure out this name, but it's a regional Sioux band in the Mississippi River in Minnesota again. So this is right near the bird shit town. So wow, look at how all this shit links up. You know what? I feel like I've been getting a lot of Minnesota news. Or no, it was Washington State and Minnesota apparently has like 90% of the bird news that, at least the bird news that I would find interesting. There's always something where it's like, oh, cockfighting ring broken up in New Orleans or some shit. But it's like, I don't want to hear about that bird news. I want to hear about bird shit stinking up lakes and about, I guess, the bald eagle actually being the national bird, even though, I'll be honest, I thought it was the national fucking bird since the very beginning. I thought, from what I remember from history class, it was like, oh, they were going to make the wild turkey, or fucking Ben Franklin was like, oh, we should make the wild turkey the national bird because it's bald like me and it fucking tastes good. Something like that. But then they changed it to bald eagle because they were like, why the fuck would we want a turkey as our national bird? Why not have this cool ass eagle? I personally think they should have gone with the golden eagle or perhaps the vulture. Although I guess they weren't clairvoyant, so they wouldn't have known that the vulture would be a more appropriate bird. But bald eagles, with their massive wingspan and stern curved beak, bald eagles are widely used as symbols of strength and power. In reality, they spend 95% of their day perched in high trees. Though when they hunt, they can spot a rabbit 3 miles away, Plone said. I don't remember. I don't know who Plone is. Yeah, I don't know. Eagle feathers. But what was the bird before? Okay, that's it. I gotta look this up. U.S. national bird. Bald eagle. But why wasn't the bald eagle already? There had never been a law. Okay. It's never officially named it. Ooh, here's one I guess that was posted by me. Why did America choose the bald eagle instead of the golden eagle? Yeah, gold eagle is way cooler. Those guys can like pick up deer and like toddlers and shit. Yeah, bald eagle, strength. Yeah, okay. Only exist. All right, whatever. Cool. I mean, you know, that's cool. And they're saying that, you know, because the this region of the Sioux tribe, they really they honor the eagle, and eagles are a very important part of their culture, and so they think that that's really cool. But yeah, you know what? I'd say indigenous people in this country got to take the W's when they can, and if they're saying that it's a win for the Sioux, then it's a win for the Sioux. Congratulations. Glad to hear it. That's some good bird news. All right, on to some recommendations. Let me just wet my whistle. Anyway, yeah, recommendations, media recommendations. I finished The Righteous Gemstones recently. The final season was about as bombastic and ridiculous as I had hoped. Once again, highly recommend that show. But now I've been in a bit of a a dearth of shows to watch right now. Yeah, I just haven't really been too invested in anything. Watched a little bit of Workaholics, which is another show that has. Sorry, looks like the new microphone cut out for a second. I'm glad I saw that little red light that popped up that says that it's obstructed. Otherwise, I would have just continued talking into nothing and not noticing that it wasn't recording. And then I would have lost my shit and thrown my laptop across the room. And then it would have just been me and the cats and a broken laptop. And it would have been all very sad. So I'm glad I didn't do that. Anyway, I was mentioning finish The Righteous Gemstones. And then I've been watching a little bit of another show, Workaholics, which is another show that involves that little shrew guy, Andy Devine. Is that Adam Devine? Not Andy Devine. I was thinking of Andy DeVito, which is like some dude from another podcast. So yeah, Adam Devine. He's that little. I keep calling him like a shrew-faced guy. That seems kind of mean. He's like, he's okay. He's not that ratty, but sometimes I do think of him as a little bit of a ratty guy, and he can really scrunch up his face and make himself look ratty, which I think has been beneficial to him in his comedic roles. Makes him look very distinctive and fucking shrew-like and shit. Man, I just really keep calling this guy a rat, don't I? Anyway, he was in Modern Family. He was, I don't know, he was the guy in Modern Family that Haley had a crush on, and he's also, one of his first roles was part of his little comedy troupe in Workaholics, which is a show about three college party dudes. I guess they're just like, it's kind of strange, right? So it's okay. I'll just say it's like three dudes who just kind of like partied a lot in college, and they're continuing to party after college, but they're in like their first year of doing a real job, which like I can kind of relate, and I feel like also kind of relates to the the initial core premise of this show, which was talking about being a young adult kind of in your early stage of your career. So maybe I should probably watch more of it, see if it kind of holds up. But it's from 2011, so it's really not the same at all. Like these guys, I mean, obviously it's a comedy show. It's not really supposed to be that realistic, but these guys are just like totally fucking around. I mean, they're to be fair, they're sales call people, which is a job that I think is actually probably going extinct pretty soon with, the um, increased efficiency of like robocall technology and eventually AI that'll make it sound like I just thought of an old person getting a sales call, and it's a perfect imitation of like their son's voice or something like that, just trying to sell them a fucking, I don't know, timeshare or solar panels or something. Totally fucked up. But, this is Workaholics is set in a more innocent time, and it was really just fucking slacker idiots trying to sell you shit over the phone. And it gave a real face to a person who you could hate for calling you at all times of the day. And one of the faces that of Adam Devine, and then it's his two other friends, whose actors' names I don't remember, and whose characters' names I also don't remember because they're kind of interchangeable. They're really just like, um, once again, the characters are kind of hard to describe because they're like a general archetype of party guy, but they aren't like necessarily frat guys. They aren't like total dude bros. They aren't like super athletic. Early on, it seems like they kind of lean into them being sort of like frat guys because it's like they all talk about like going to the gym and shit, even though they have really unhealthy fucking lifestyles and probably. I mean, it's probably just happenstance that the actors probably work out, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll incorporate that into the show." Where they're like popping their pecs at each other and shit. Um, so yeah, it makes me kind of lean towards like frat guys, but they also just do like goofy shit, like just sit on the roof of their like shared house and like just fucking drink and shit. And they throw parties, which is cool, but they also did like a wizard rap music video and like make weird references to other stuff. So I think they're just supposed to be kind of just like a archetype of just like dumb guys without having any particular interest. I feel like they would be the type, they would be into Barstool, but they'd also be like kind of into like, potentially into like fucking Dungeons and Dragons or something. Like that's kind of the personality vibes that they give off. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty funny show. It's interesting because it seems like it was aired on cable because they have like F words as part of the dialogue, but they're all bleeped. Anything stronger than like PG-13 language is bleeped, and so it's like it's kind of interesting because I guess in that way it's kind of similar to how like Family Guy used to work, where it's like Brian would say like fuck or something, but it would be bleeped. And then I guess, I don't know. I seem to remember at one time hearing versions where it's unbleeped. I don't know if that's a real thing or if it's just something that is for like online clips or something like that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Workaholics, pretty decent show. I haven't been super invested in it. I've mostly just been kind of watching it while I eat food and like while someone else is watching it or something. And then I'll peek in and take a look at whatever's happening on the screen. Yeah, so that's the show that I've been watching. I'm meaning to get back into Sopranos. I recently I was actually listening to a podcast about yeah, alleged mob hitman and definite murderer Richard Kuklinski, aka the Iceman, and that definitely gave kind of a bleak, really bleak version of like mob life and like the type of psychopaths that get really deep into working for organized crime. And I'd like something a little more lighthearted, even though I know The Sopranos gets tragic. I mean, I've seen millions of clips online. People love showing that clips of that show online and love showing all the most important parts and all the parts that spoil all the plot points and all of the best jokes. So it's then when I go and I watch it in the TV show, I'm like, haha, but I've already seen it a million times. So it kind of ruins the show for me. But you know what? That's not their fault. The show's been out for like over 25 years now. So it's really on me for not watching it. But, I'll get to it eventually and I'll probably still enjoy it because it's supposed to be one of the best shows out there. But yeah, I guess as far as music goes, I don't know. What have I even been listening for music. I've been listening to I don't know. I was trying to get into Lil Wayne for a little while. Getting a Lil Wayne for a little while. He's my little guy. He's my Lil Wayne. But yeah, I'm not really. I don't know. I can't really seem to get into Lil Wayne. Like there's definitely songs, a lot of songs in his discography that I do kind of like as like, just like kind of fuck around party songs. But whenever I listen to the lyrics, it's just like, Lil Wayne's just kind of like fucking gross. like like it's like, yeah, okay, obviously like rap can be vulgar and shit like that, but it's just hearing Lil Wayne's voice going like,
Yeah, fits me like a glove. Yeah, wow, wow, a million man, a million.
just fucking doing shit like that. And it's, yeah, there's certain voices in rap and hip hop and R&B that I just can't really get behind. Lil Wayne is one of them. Kendrick Lamar, even though I love his lyricism and his beats and his delivery some of the time, some of his shit is like borderline where it's just like him just basically sounding a little bit, not sounding like Lil Wayne in any like real musical way, but in his intonation, just being like bing bang boom bang 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 bang. And it's like, what? Why are you doing that? Why are you going bing bop boom in the first place? And then also, why are you making like a weird little nasally sound? And the worst part now is that I feel like I don't want to make fun of Lil Wayne too much because I did a little research on him and he's had so many health problems recently. Like now he has like seizures and has like memory issues, and he's only in his like late 40s. So it's like it's kind of fucked up. And so I don't really want to make fun of him that bad, even though he's not even, I don't know. I've heard that he's not necessarily a good person, but he's also like a pretty complicated person. He's not like a Diddy or anything. Like he's not like someone where everyone's like, oh, he's a psycho. Like he seems like he's just kind of a guy who's had issues in the past and is now kind of, reaping a lot of the health problems from years and years of drugs. But he still loves rapping and singing about how he needs more drugs. Like there's a song that I actually really like. It's and I think that's kind of like a theme as far as what I've heard from people commentating about Lil Wayne, is that he's a lot better on features nowadays than he is on like his own songs on his most recent album, which is like the Carter Part 9 or some shit like that. And one of them is by there's a rapper named Carday, and the song is called Saturday Morning. And it's kind of like a cheesy, like feel good rap type of song where it's just like, I thank God that I woke up this morning to make this money and, not be in mourning and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, it's a little cheesy like that, but overall it has a great beat. And I kind of like Carday's rapping style. And then Lil Wayne's feature comes in and it's pretty good. Like it's Lil Wayne kind of like singing, I guess. There's probably auto tune involved, but he's singing and rapping, and he has some pretty good lines. But some of the stuff, of course, is just like total over the top bullshit. Where he's just like, I need more. One line is, I need more hard drugs, and it's like, damn, dude, you really don't. You really don't need more hard drugs. You don't need those asteroid buds. you need you need to chill. But it's like, it's overall, it's a really cool song, and Lil Wayne is there for like the second half of it, and I still really like it, and I really like the way that his lines, matched up with the with the beat and the sample in the background, and it all sounded really good. But then I've heard that a lot of his new album is kind of trash, and I don't even really like as much of his old stuff as someone who's a fan might enjoy. That didn't really make any sense, but I'm not that big of a fan even of old Lil Wayne, so I don't think that I would be a fan of the new album either. Although I might listen to it, see if it surprises me, especially if I don't listen to any more new music other than that. But yeah, that's kind of that for that sort of genre of music. But I guess a weird band that I've kind of gotten back into a little bit, or I was trying to do a little bit of a revisit, is this kind of this grunge band called Paw, Paw. They're from like they kicked off in the early '90s around the same time as Nirvana, and for a little while, critics were saying that they could be the next Nirvana. There were kind of a lot of bands back then where it's like they're going to be the next Nirvana, but then the thing is Nirvana already existed, and and by the time Nirvana was no longer a band, like grunge had, the popular music had kind of shifted away from self-deprecating grunge to being like, fuck yeah, new millennium, cool shit, new metal, rap rock, Fred Durst, let's do this shit, yeah, 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 that sort of thing. And there wasn't room for a new Nirvana. And so that was kind of the fate of Paw. Out of all the bands that I've heard from like contemporary critics being like they're going to be the new Nirvana, like Silverchair got that. Pearl Jam was kind of their own separate thing. Stone Temple Pilots actually got kind of shit on at the time for they sounded like a clone of Pearl Jam and Nirvana and other bands and Alice in Chains. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I guess his voice, like he can do Scott Weiland can do the Foghorn Leghorn voice, but that doesn't mean he's copying fucking Pearl Jam. Okay, they don't really sound that much the same, and the musical structure is obviously very. Anyway, the point is that this band Paw, they were kind of like they're almost like they're kind of like southern rock type grunge that had very much like a country and then hard driving southern rock type of style. They would use some slide guitar. Like their most popular song, Jesse, uses a lot of like slide guitar and I believe like an electric banjo or mandolin. I think probably either electric banjo and slide guitar, but those two, and then regular electric guitar as well. But yeah, they have a lot of interesting songs. They have a pretty hard, the sound that goes pretty hard, and then they can also be melodic, and they tend to fluctuate between those two extremes, from like shouting and screaming back down to like more quiet melodies and verses. But yeah, they're a pretty cool band. They're not quite my cup of tea as far as '90s alternative rock goes. And I guess overall, I guess they weren't that many people's cup of tea either, because they only have like Spotify's metrics, as much as they may or may not actually be legit, say that they get around like 30,000 or so monthly listeners. So I guess that they have like kind of a following, probably among like kind of hardcore grunge fans who like everything '90s. But even their most popular song is only at about 3.5 million streams or something like that. So it's not, they aren't the most popular band from that era, but so they're actually kind of one of the least popular ones that could possibly have been called the next Nirvana. I guess that critic was jumping the gun a little bit when they heard their first single, but yeah, still a pretty cool band. I know most of the guys from the band they broke up in the early 2000s, like a lot of grunge bands that survived Kurt Cobain's death. But they're the artists involved, they have kind of their own solo projects going now. But Paw's still a pretty cool band, especially if you like kind of southern hard rock. Like it has some elements of like early Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner, and then also the Toadies as well. Or not the Toadies, that band as well. They're kind of similar to that, and then the guy has like a more has a deeper voice, kind of similar to like Scott Weiland, or like actually a little bit more like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. But it's like kind of the harsher aspects of Eddie Vedder's vocals when he can really get to like screaming and shit. I don't know if you've heard Pearl Jam's live recordings, but especially the ones from the '90s, Eddie Vedder's voice can get really raw, and that's kind of what the vocalist from Paw sounds like. So yeah, pretty cool if you're into that, especially into '90s alternative music. And now we go to book recommendations. So recently, Jesus fucking Christ. Can you leave me alone? Fuck off, Google. I'm not using Google. What is this? Google Duo? I'm not using Google Duo or Google Meet. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Not using that shit. Anyway, the book that I've been reading most recently is Into the Raging Sea, 33 Mariners, One Megastorm, and the Sinking of the El Faro by Rachel Slade. And so this is a nonfiction book, sort of almost kind of written in a true crime style about the sinking of an American container ship during Hurricane Joaquin in 2015 down in the Bahamas. And it's a very, very interesting nonfiction book. It kind of reads like fiction a little bit, except actually, what am I talking about? It doesn't read like fiction, but it's very engaging and fast paced, and the characters who are real people, they're really fleshed out as like kind of their own characters. You know, Rachel Slade is obviously a very good writer because she makes all these very she just writes these very vivid descriptions of the people involved and really kind of gets into their motivations for the decisions that they make. And some of the most important decisions, of course, are as to why kind of the captain and the upper level officers on the El Faro chose to take the route that they did and take the risks that they did going into what was initially a tropical storm and then strengthened rapidly into a major hurricane. And even though it's a historical event, I don't necessarily want to spoil kind of everything that went down. But there's kind of, as Rachel Slade figured out during her investigation, there was a lot more tension both between members of the crew and the captain, and then as well as the captain and the company that owned the El Faro, known as TOTE, TOTE. I'll give a minor spoiler. TOTE is obviously a fucking scumbag piece of shit company. They didn't it's not like they ordered the ship to go through the storm, but the book, part of what makes this book interesting is that it doesn't just talk about the storm and about the people who were lost in the storm and the Coast Guard and their Coast Guard's attempts to rescue the ship. But it also talks a lot about the kind of like the maritime history around East Coast shipping, and of the construction of the ships themselves, and of a lot of the warning systems and regulations that were meant to keep people safe, but in some cases got kind of bypassed or kind of grandfathered in on these older vessels, or rather not having to be regulated. Like non-regulation got grandfathered in onto older vessels like this, if that makes sense, and kind of how those oversights may have led to this disaster. And then it also kind of discusses how climate change and the increasing intensity of hurricanes may make tragedies like this more common. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't put in too many, that doesn't spoil too many details. I highly recommend reading this book if you're into especially if you're into natural disasters like me. Like, holy shit. One thing you got to know about me, I love me a natural disaster. Hurricanes, well, okay. All right. I'm not that morbid. I don't love natural disasters, but I find them really fucking fascinating and really scary. For example, you're never getting my ass into the merchant marine. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the pay is. It doesn't matter how good the union is. Not that the union's even that good anymore. I'm just not doing it, because if I have to go out into a storm, I'm gonna shit my pants, and I'm gonna jump into the ocean and take my chance with the sharks. Like, one of the things that I've found scariest ever since I learned about shit like the Titanic is just like the idea of going down with a ship and just getting sucked under the water in this big metal coffin. Terrifying stuff. But yeah, I mean, part of that fear is just knowing how like even as someone who's spent a vast majority of their life on land, I know very well how dangerous the ocean can be. Between hurricanes if you're going down south, but also North Atlantic storms, typhoons in the Pacific Ocean, rogue waves. Rogue waves are fucking crazy. Maybe I'll do a little special episode on rogue waves, because there's something that I've done a little bit of research into, even though I'm not really smart enough to really get into the physics behind it, but it's really fascinating stuff. So I might do a special episode on rogue waves or hurricanes, tornadoes, anything. This is basically my podcast. I mean, I have a creative committee, of course, that rubber stamps everything that I can and can't do, but I'm sure I'll be able to, make some little special episodes like that, especially if I get good feedback on this episode, because this is stuff that's really interesting to me. But yes, the book, the book really goes in depth into a lot of the details that you wouldn't have even thought about if you just hear like, oh, a ship sank, a ship sank in a hurricane. Oh, no shit. A boat that gets caught in a hurricane goes down. But it's really fascinating because of how rare it is as a disaster for a modern, a large modern American steel-built container ship actually sinking in a storm. It usually doesn't happen for a variety of reasons, because we literally have technology to track storms. So for the most part, ships can either choose to stay in port or navigate around or take shelter somewhere. So normally that doesn't even really come into play. And then also ships these days are really, they're at least supposed to be really well built. But kind of what comes into play is that a lot of ships in the United States both don't have to follow like kind of the International Shipping Commission regulations, at least not to a T. It's kind of like how we don't have to really do anything that the UN says either, but it's like that, but for shipping regulations. And so it's like we'll follow a lot of them, but if it's gonna really, if it's gonna kind of undercut our companies, then we just won't do it. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff like that. It really kind of airs the dirty laundry of a lot of these, like particularly the tote shipping company that owned the El Faro. It really airs their dirty laundry, and so it's very interesting. Hearing about all the little details and the history behind it. So yeah, if you're into natural disasters, maritime history, and to some extent workplace drama, you'd really enjoy this book. And yeah, definitely highly recommend it. It'll also make you feel a little smarter. It crosses a wide range of subjects and shows you a lot of new little fun words that you might not have thought about. But yeah, I mean, I think another part of this book that kind of resonated with me is the idea around taking gambles. You go into something like, oh, excuse me, Jesus Christ. You go into something like the Merchant Marine, and you go into sailing, and that's kind of a gamble. It's a gamble for your health, but the payoff is that the pay is really good, and for a lot of the time, especially if you're like a commissioned officer, you only have to stay on for like half the year, and then the other half of the year you're just kind of on shore, fucking around and hanging out with your family. Maybe you have another job, but you don't necessarily need one because long history of good mariners unions and things like that. The captains, they also sometimes they got to take gambles to try and make sure shipments get to places on time, and or at least this captain did. Once again, no spoilers, but I think that kind of runs into a larger issue in I guess both in that business, but also now in general. Let's say about 10 years since this incident, now gambling as a practice is everywhere. Everything is fucking gambling nowadays. which brings me to my little topic, my little recent gripe, which is the something that I've mentioned before, but it's the easy the easy accessibility to gambling, especially as it's exploded over the past couple of years with the laws just kind of really loosening and letting companies like DraftKings just go fucking hog wild. Like before, I used to watch sports a lot as a kid. Jesus Christ. I hope you guys didn't hear that cat scream out there. I assure you they're okay. You just don't worry about it. But yeah, I used to watch sports a lot as a kid. I got, obviously, I was exposed to a lot of advertising watching sports on basic cable. It would be for stuff like, stuff that's already kind of unhealthy for you, like, a lot of beer ads, some hard liquor, but that didn't really come into play until more recently. Now that it's like, oh, NBA sponsored by Crown Royal motherfucking Apple. Do you like whiskey that has apple taste in it? Drink that while you watch the game. It's an hour and a half game, but that gives you enough time to down half a bottle of Crown Royal Apple. Hell yeah. And it's like, okay, that's fucking crazy shit. Like, why? I just encouraging people to drink hard alcohol while they're watching, like the NBA finals. Like, what a recipe for societal disaster. But that's not really my point. When I was a kid, let's be nice about my age. Let's say like 10, 15 years ago. And it would be beer commercials. It would be commercials for like, snacks and shit like Doritos and stuff like that. But only recently, since mobile gambling became like a thing that was pretty much fully legalized and unleashed in the U.S. Only recently have I seen the sheer number of DraftKings and Bet DSI ads. Not as much Bet DSI. Bet DSI is for like B tier and lower sports, like for low level UFC cards and like for other martial arts and low level boxing matches and things like that. That's what Bet DSI is for. But DraftKings is fucking everywhere. I don't know how much money those guys make, but with the sheer amount that they put out for advertising, it has to be a fucking fuckload of money. Probably more money than I'll make on this podcast, but we'll see how that goes. Give it like 6 months. We'll see how the growth, how the exponential growth turns out. But yeah, DraftKings is fucking nuts. Their ads are everywhere. Their app is everywhere. You can just place bets on anything. Okay, I don't know if it's anything, but certainly anything sports. And I'm pretty sure there's definitely apps out there, even if DraftKings doesn't do it, where you can bet on things like elections and on like national and world events and shit. And it seems just kind of fucking crazy to me how that's just been totally just like, yep, hey, anyone with a gambling problem, if you have a phone, your problem's about to get a whole lot worse. Get fucking ready, dude. Get ready to bet your house on literally anything you can think of. Doesn't matter if you didn't know that there was sports going on today. Looks like there's golf or women's basketball. Now you can bet on that shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to say women's basketball was like that shit. I'd certainly say golf is that shit. Like betting on golf is fucking nuts. You could bet on a national darts tournament. You can bet on bowling. You can bet on whatever. Women's basketball is actually pretty interesting, to be honest. It's all about the fundamentals, Anyway, but yeah, it's crazy shit like that, and then it's gone from it being like, ooh, cool, sports betting is fun, to just straight up like, hey, you want to have like fucking lottery ticket? Let's take the most lottery tickets. Let's take the most boring, sad type of gambling, and let's make it so you can just do it from an app on your phone. And that is what I discovered. Is the purpose of something that we talked about on a previous episode known as Jackpocket. Now, when I heard from my friend and past guest Ben about Jackpocket, I had no idea what that was. that sounded like a weird euphemism. It's where that, it's why it's like, no one wants to be caught playing jackpocket in the park. Still find that funny. Hope you do too. But it's yeah, but it's literally just an app. It's not even a game. It's literally an app where you can order different kinds of lottery tickets and pay for them. And then fucking, I don't know, I guess scratch off those lottery tickets and hope that you won. And that sounds like the saddest, most bullshit thing in the world for sad sack losers, and for just people who are horribly down in the dumps and have literal, actual addictions and problems with gambling. And of course, guess who's like the face of Jackpocket? But Dave fucking Portnoy of Barstool Sports Media, or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, I don't remember what his little media empire is off the top of my head, but the reason why I know that he's the face of Jackpocket is because if you saw on the Instagram, while I was on public transportation, I saw a big poster inside the public transportation center. There was an advertisement for Jackpocket, and I'd have to find I can let me pull up this. I got to pull up this poster again because I remember the tagline for it, or rather I guess the motto for it, or the slogan, I suppose. It was something like you might win, or you might, or some shit. Okay, no, it's yeah, okay, Jackpocket lottery app. Not gonna say you'll win, but you might. Like, that's fucked up. And then next to that, or rather right below that, new customers get a free scratch ticket, promo code Dave. And then right next to that is a cutout of Dave Portnoy's busted face and disgusting hands holding up a phone with a scratch off on it. And he's wearing one of his a t-shirt with the Barstool slogan on it. And I don't know. I can't necessarily let this devolve into a Dave Portnoy hate podcast, but I mean, especially because I'd be kind of a hypocrite to say that I hate all Barstool content. But probably the reason why I've enjoyed Barstool content is because of how more of how unintentionally hilarious it is, rather than anybody having an actual funny personality. It's either being unintentionally hilarious, where it's like these fucking 45-year-old guys screaming at each other about losing sports bets on fucking college football or college basketball and shit like that. It's either that, or like, depending on what Barstool media page you go on, you can watch videos of college students jumping off roofs and shit and stealing stuff and committing drunken crimes. And that's the type of thing that you can enjoy if you look at Barstool, or the correct Barstool pages. Barstool Sports is mostly just like highlight reels, and then just the most boring, disgusting looking dudes and gals in the world talking about how important college sports is, and how fucking annoyed they are that they're that whichever team isn't doing something right, or if someone cheated, or just like with any podcast, just like with this bullshit podcast, you have to have a topic for your podcast. But I literally don't know how those Barstool Sports podcasts do it, where they just have to, it kind of reminds me of, like, once again, this is betraying my age quite a bit, but it's more betraying my dad's age, because it's kind of like listening to sports talk radio with my dad whenever I was on a long car ride. My dad, whenever he decided that he hated me, would switch from music to sports talk radio. And it was always just these same dudes just having to talk for 4 hours at a time about fucking nothing. Like, on the off season, when there's nothing going on in sports, particularly in, let's say whatever region you're in. If you don't have a good hockey team, then that's a bad example. If you don't have a good baseball team, then in the spring there isn't really that much going on, because hockey's kind of wrapping up. I guess you have basketball, March Madness. That's a bad example too. But it's particularly in the football off season, like kind of like the end of summer where it's like, there's not really that much to talk about. That's when any sort of sports talk show, whether that's sports talk radio or sports podcast, that shit can get fucking dry. And it would just be guys talking about like who like, oh, Tom Brady's divorced now. Who is he like dating, and will that affect his playing on like the team that he semi-retired to? And that was like a couple years ago, but I remember just how like, damn, like these guys really have to pretend to be mad about this shit, and like they have to pretend to like really be into fucking draft picks and shit like that, because it's like baseball's kind of in the dog days. Basketball hasn't quite started up yet. Got a bunch of other shit that's just kind of like, I guess they could talk about golf, but it's usually a little bit more interesting to talk about Tom Brady, I suppose, rather than, I don't know, Phil Mickelson, or back then it was Tiger Woods. I think Tiger Woods is done now, ever since he cheated on his wife 238 times. But that's basically how I classify these Barstool sports podcasts. And literally the parts I'm seeing, it's not even like I'm listening to the whole podcast. These are supposed to be the highlights. This is like shit that I'm seeing on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. Like this is supposed to be the fucking highlights. And it's still the most boring conversations. It's just this guy who's like, he looks like 55. He's probably like 38, but he looks like he's just going to have like a coronary right there on air, talking about like literally some like college sophomore who, like, I don't know, like flipped the ref the bird or something like that, or was like, or talking about like some beef between like two like 22-year-olds on like a literally on just some college athletics team. And it's the most boring, inane shit, and those are the highlights. So I can only imagine trying to like listen to a full hour, let's say, of that, and then having it broken up in the middle, and probably like a bunch of other spots of just like 3-minute long advertisements about like, what could it be? Jack Pocket, DraftKings, sports gambling. Or if you're too fucking poor and broke for sports gambling, here's an app where you can order fucking virtual lottery tickets, virtual scratch offs. Just rub your little finger on the scratch offs and you can get your number. It's like, what the fuck is that? How can anyone listen to that? There's no way those things make money. And I would know podcasts can basically cost $0, and it's and it can still not make money. But this shit, there's no way that's how they make money. It's definitely just got to be kickbacks just from the gambling apps and shit like that, because those guys, they make so much. Like, it has to just be so much, because it's like, why would you go to a casino when you can just place bets on your phone? You could bet the house on your phone. You could bet your car payments on a phone. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just fucking insane. And then there's just Dave Portnoy squinting at an invisible sun, looking into the camera, grinning his little chiclet teeth at you and pointing at his phone like, "Look, I won. You might not win, but maybe you will." What the fuck is that? That's god awful. Can't fucking stand that guy, to be honest. Just a variety of reasons. Mostly his looks, to be honest, but also like, see, this tells you how much I'm a hypocrite, because I've watched enough Barstool. I used to, because I was just coming out of college, I used to watch a lot of Barstool U videos, because it would just be like, just like fun college party bullshit. Then they did start kind of like shoehorning their fucking college sports podcast clips into that to fill out their content. I assume because in some cases they would get sued for like, either showing underage people drinking, or like, showing people who didn't want their dirty laundry aired. Like, I think in one case they had an issue where they were basically on one of their garbage podcasts, they were talking about like whether this one girl, like her best friend, if she had sex with her dad or something like that. And they got into like all this speculation about it, and they got their middle-aged, disgusting, grubby fingers into this, like, once again, this like beef between two like 19-year-olds. that ended up, I think, not even being true. And then afterwards, they had to be like, "Oh, sorry, it was like not our journalistic intentions." And it's like this is like sub New York Post, sub tabloid shit. This is just like finding some randos, some randos like friendship beef, and then like trying to figure out if she actually had like sex with her friend's dad or whatever the fuck. And it's like this is what content is now. This is like the you think it would be like the end of what content could be, because this has got to just be the bottom of the barrel. But I'm sure that it isn't. I'm sure that there's A, worse out there, and B, probably even worse just from Barstool Media. And it's all sponsored by fucking gambling apps, and not even gambling apps, lottery ticket apps. Fucking lottery tickets. The shit you get at a gas station, but it's on your phone. It's even cleaner and more environmentally friendly because you don't get all the little scratchy asbestos dust all over your clothes and all over the ground. So it's better, right? It's better to have that be virtual. Okay. Nothing like setting up my credit card to attach it to my fucking lottery ticket app. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it's getting late. I got other shit I need to do. But I think this has been a pretty solid episode of On to the Next Thing. I guess if you want to take a young adult life lesson from this, it's like, don't get into fucking gambling. But if you do, definitely don't be so fucking sad as to go for like sub DraftKings bullshit, like virtual lottery tickets. If you're scratching off virtual lottery tickets, I think you should probably just put yourself in prison or in like a hospital or something like that, because that's just fucking crazy. Throw your phone in the sea. Like, that's your only hope. Just lose your phone for long enough where you can't get back onto that app, because if you're out there fucking doing virtual scratchies, it's fucking over for you. You need to come back to the light. You need to come to Jesus moment. So don't do that shit. That's the lesson from this episode of On to the Next Thing. Thank you for listening. Hope you listen again soon when I talk more about hurricanes or whatever book that I get into after this, or whatever movie I want to talk about. Maybe I'll go see the new Superman movie. Heard it's either really good or dog shit or just okay. So I guess I'll have to see for myself if James Gunn can make a superhero movie. Which I'm pretty sure he's competent enough to do it, but hey, I've been wrong before. M. Night Shyamalan. Oh, shit. I realize I've never even talked about how much I don't like, not even don't like M. Night Shyamalan, but just like how off-putting all of his movies are. But, I can get into that another time. We're almost at an hour. I think this is a good place to wrap up. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching. Make sure to follow at OTNT Podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. I'm not making a new X account right now because I don't need to I just don't need to deal with that right now. I feel like making a new account is probably going to be worse than having already had an account and then keeping it on. Like, I feel like now is probably still like one of the worst times to try and make a new Twitter account, especially since it's just like an AI playground where they're using it to train their AI, since now literally X AI owns X, aka Twitter, Zitter, whatever the fuck. And so it's like, I am not making, I don't want to try and even like create an email and like some sort of, God forbid if they have a verification system. If I have to put any sort of real-ish personal information into that fucking app, there's just no way. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not doing another fucking book club thing again, but for something 1,000 times worse. However, if you would like to donate your X account to the OTNT Podcast Network for its official use, I would be happy to hijack your account and use it for the podcast instead of whatever the fuck you were gonna do with it. Let your unfunny posts become my unfunny posts. let your stagnant X account that's being flooded by bots bring benefit to someone else by having the bots bring engagement to this little pet project of mine. So yeah, feel free to hit me up on any of those socials if you feel like donating your X account. I don't know how that would work. That would probably just involve giving me your fucking password and shit. But you know, and then also they would, of course, conversely, give you access to everything, all of the announcements and shit that I put on there, and also access to any of the emails and information that I put into that account. But actually, it's more like I just take your account login, and then you just get to see inside my head for a little bit. So if you think that's fun, you know, hit me up on social media. I'll consult my media relations team, and we'll see if we can work something out. But until then, stay tuned for episode 13. I'm gonna stay on track this time. I'm gonna have it out by Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, or maybe I'll figure out a better day for actually uploading shit to YouTube, and then maybe I'll even get an RSS feed, and then you know maybe I'll even get a permanent co-host, and I'll figure out how to actually create music that's not just me blasting whatever instruments I own into a microphone and then recording it as an intro or an outro, and then we'll really be fucking cooking. Joe Rogan, here I come. Call me daddy. Or not call me daddy. No, not Joe Rogan, call me daddy. Fucking hell. Call her daddy, here I come. That still sounds bad. Whatever. Podcast is over. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.